I am Marcus James Dixon with Gold Derby, and we would like to welcome Ken Fuchs to our TV reality panel, the director of The Golden Bachelor on ABC. And Ken, after 2 decades of regular Bachelor contestants, why was 2023 the right time to cast a senior citizen in the lead role?
That's a really good question, Marcus. I think we had been talking about it for a long time. It always comes up, and of course, my friends and colleagues that are my age would always approach me and think it's time now. Let's do this. Why aren't we doing this? Why doesn't ABC do this? Why aren't you doing bachelors our age? Why aren't we represented? And for whatever reason, I think the timing was right. I don't know if it was just where we are, the zeitgeist culturally, or the network's decision. And at the time, maybe it wasn't right before, or there were other priorities and other demographics that were in play. But it certainly worked out just wonderfully, and it was perfect, maybe perfect timing to do it in 2023. Yeah.
And I love how the first episode opens up. We see 71-year-old Gary Turner getting ready in front of the mirror, and then he puts in his hearing aids. And I'm like, it's such an iconic moment. And it's just this visual that tells viewers right away, this is not your normal Bachelor, right?
Right. And not right in a lot of different ways too, right? It wasn't just like somebody, showering naked with their shirt off, soaping up in the shower. It was something really very I hate to use the word, but very authentic. I mean, nothing's more authentic than what you go through every day in your life to get through this life. And not trying to be sexy, or not trying to be um, make a statement, but just here it is, here he is. And I think right away it set the tone for people to understand that this is going to be this is going to feel different.
Hmm. And I'm curious, what is the biggest difference between directing The Golden Bachelor and directing a regular Bachelor episode, or is there really no difference?
I really approached it from the same style, same attitude, same set dressing and lighting and format. We really didn't change a lot, because I think that would have been a mistake to try, to have to sort of offer up this different type of show. The point is that these are lovely humans that are looking for a connection, and the stories are all the same. And we don't need to the casting's going to feel so different. We don't need to create some other type
Hmm.
of world for them.
And I'm curious, how hard was it to find the star of the show? I'm guessing a lot of people auditioned. So what made Gary the right person?
I have to admit, I'm not intimately involved in that process, so I'm not sure what the various stages they went through. But I believe that years earlier, well, for years we've been talking about this and sort of starting a bit of a casting process. And I believe that he had been in the mix um, earlier. And then, when it comes down to finding the lead, it's really the same discussion as always, which is this person, this somebody we can really root for and love, and has a story to tell, and really really believes in this process and interested in finding, love, and thinks that this can work for them.
And so many of the Golden Women really went out of their way to try to make a memorable first impression at the limousine for Gary. I'm just curious if you have a favorite of all of their introductions. Mine was Leslie. She was the one that came in the wig and the walker, and then she just kind of threw him along off to the side to show her real authentic self. It was really funny.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the one that stands out to me. I like Leslie. I like the was it Faith with the motorcycle. We always have some fun with the arrivals, and 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 a lot of the women really contributed their own ideas and their own creativity to that. But yeah, Leslie was my favorite as well.
And Teresa with the birthday suit.
Yeah.
Uh, and Gary mentioned on the show how all of the women exuded this youthful spirit. And I'm just curious, how important was it to make sure that this youthful spirit was captured on film?
Well, it wasn't hard really because we shoot a lot of hours and there are some times where they're maybe more reserved or something, but in general they were just it's terrific job of casting, and these women once they got together, I think the sum was greater than the parts, and so they sort of brought it out in each other, and sort of the friendship and the love and the environment. So it wasn't that part really wasn't very difficult because um, they're just incredibly gregarious women.
Mm. And how fun was the flash mob scene at the diner in episode 2? It looked like a full-on Hollywood musical, La La Land type moment.
That was a big one. I have to admit, I didn't direct that scene,
Mm.
so I give credit to my other directors on the show who are wonderful and contribute so much to the show. But yeah, that was a big one, and I thought it came off really beautifully and
Mm.
super fun.
And let's talk about the Joan moment. She was the lady who had this really important one-on-one date with Gary, and then the next day she had to go home because of a family matter. And real life moments get in the way all the time. And what are your feelings behind the scenes? Do you feel just how we do, as viewers, like just completely shattered?
Yeah, yes, it's very it's not great aside from the show itself because we'd like, this woman to stick around, but then there's also just the real emotional, this is someone's life, and this is the real world, and that sometimes real world uh does, infringe on the shooting of a television show, and that's okay. That's going to happen, and that's part of the process. And we certainly want to support, anyone who comes on the show in terms of like, what is going on in their life. And in this case, and with women in this demographic, there's more life, so there's more opportunity and chances, I guess, for things to come up. So we tried to deal with it in a very honest, emotional way, and I thought did a pretty good job with that.
The hometown visits this season were very different because he was, meeting the children and the grandchildren as opposed to the parents. Can you talk about that aspect of the show?
It's funny. I think that it's so different, right? I mean, I'm both, you know, a father and I have children, and for them to, when you look at it from their point of view, it's a completely different, chemistry than a parent meeting their son's potential bride. Um, and so there were some similarities, but it was obviously like completely skewed and turned on its head. And the flip, I think, was quite nice. Um, and and also I think how but individuals are also, every hometown's different. Sometimes the kids go into their folks' homes and feel a certain way and take their advice in a certain way. And same things with us, right? We go through life and we'll listen to our kids in a certain way and take something they've said one way, and then other people have different relationships with their kids. So in a way, the general aspect of a hometown sort of approval process is the same. It felt very different at the same time. It was really, really neat.
Hmm. And a final question is, I just want to talk about the overall theme of the season, which was hope, that people in their later years can still find love, that they don't have to give up. There's still people out there. And if you could just, talk a minute about that.
Yeah, look, I'm in this demographic, right? I'm in my 60s, and so I really, for the first time, felt that I understood, related certainly more to the cast and what was going on in their lives, and what they were bringing to the table, and what they were coming on the show with, as opposed to the seasons when I'm, directing, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. But that was always sort of like our through line was heart, humor, and hope. And and believe me, I have a lot of friends. I'm married, but I have a lot of friends who are single, and it's almost more important, right, at our age, to think about that companionship and that love and that friendship. And that, you know, new life and love can begin at any age.
Mm.
Is really was really the message, and I think people felt it, and it connected with America, not just 60-year-olds, but 40, 30, 20 young people saw it as sort of a um, you know, a very rewarding experience.
Well, thank you for chatting with us today. We'll see you in a little bit at the group panel. So as Kathy would say, I'm going to zip it.
Ah, thank
Thanks,
you.
Ken.
Okay.